Ascending to the highest office. New tonight on Our News Live at 7. Former cabinet minister and first female deputy prime minister Cynthia Pratt will soon be called Her Excellency. Prime Minister names her the next Governor General.
Coming up tonight in Our News, the Bahamas Contractors Association is speaking out and advising residents to be vigilant when contractors are constructing their homes. I'm Berthany McDermott, and I'll have those details for you tonight in Our News.
And forward movement happening on Grand Bahama. The minister talks redevelopment of the airport and cruise port and recent oil spills. Then in Our News at 7:30, the parents of a 2-year-old boy are held for the death of their son. The couple could now be facing manslaughter by negligence. Our News Live at 7 starts right now. Welcome to Our News Live at 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kendino Knowles. Cynthia Mother Pratt will serve as the next Governor General of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. The news confirmed in an official statement released by the Office of the Prime Minister today. Prime Minister Philip Davis noting it is with great pleasure that he recommended Mother Pratt for the appointment. It was on August 11th when Davis requested His Majesty King Charles appoint Pratt as Governor General with effect on September 1st. There's been much speculation recently about who would become the next Governor General. Pratt was even questioned about the possible appointment when she appeared recently on the Record with Jerome Sawyer. Take a look.
There's been a lot of talk about what's next for you and whether you're going to Government Hill, as we like to call it. Is there any truth to that?
Jerome, I'd rather not comment at this time.
Okay.
What I would say, though, is that as long as I can represent my people, serve my people, and know that I've done my best to make life better for someone, that's all that matters to me.
Pratt was born in New Providence on November 5th, 1945. Her life of service includes contributions to nursing, education, politics, sports, and religion. She served for 15 years as the Member of Parliament for the St. Cecilia constituency. Her political career highlighted by several firsts, as she was appointed the first female Deputy Prime Minister and first female Minister of National Security. If you want to read the full statement on her appointment, visit ournews.bs. Now to the Bahamas Contractors Association, sounding the alarm tonight against developers and contractors building homes that the association says doesn't meet local building codes. Berthany McDermott picks up the story from here.
The Bahamas Contractors Association is speaking out tonight after President Leonard Sands made this Facebook post highlighting a number of issues with a construction site here in the capital. From the post, several concerning deficiencies were highlighted.
If you are building a home that has a structural system where you do not have structural columns, you need to have rebar coming up from the foundation all the way to the bell course, and then those cells poured with concrete. That creates a monolithic concrete structure for you to attach your belt plate to and your roof. That was not witnessed at all.
But of even greater concern is the soon-to-be homeowner who is trusting the contractor to construct their home properly. San says the structure in its current state isn't hurricane ready.
You're going to undertake a 25, 30-year mortgage on a product that I will dare say, in the event of a serious hurricane, will not withstand that. That's the engineering side of that. That what is being built there does not meet the code for being able to resist a hurricane.
The BCA president is also questioning how the building got all the approvals in the current state. He believes incidents like these underscores the need for regulation of the construction industry and to appoint a board to ensure construction companies abide by the regulations. He says he reached out to the development company but has yet to get a response, but says there needs to be greater supervision on the sites. Meanwhile, another concern raised, the cost to the customer.
I think about the loss of income, the money that you would have spent for a product does not meet the value that it should have in probably the next 5 to 10, 15 years.
Now, if you're currently engaged with a contractor, here's what Sands suggests you do to ensure your home is constructed properly.
Get an independent owner's rep. Hire them. They cost very little per service. It's as little as maybe $250 per site visit to look over your project for you. okay, an inspection is coming up, or this point in the construction is the time where you think you should check a little more, let them come and do a report for you and say, hey, I find that everything was okay, or I had concerns in this area.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
All right, thanks a lot, Berthany. Several projects underway on Grand Bahama, including the long-anticipated redevelopment of the air and cruise ports. We put the question about the progress to the Minister of Grand Bahama, who gave this update to our Megan Shepherd.
Minister for Grand Bahama, Ginger Moxie, telling reporters that investigations into a recent oil spill are ongoing. She notes that a task force made up of public and private sector partners has been established to continue the cleanup efforts.
I know that they are monitoring extensively the shoreline, the eastern shoreline of the island, because there had been some tar balls that were detected along the beaches, and that's being investigated to determine exactly where they came from.
As it relates to the development of the Carnival Cruise Port in East Grand Bahama, the minister says it's progressing well, adding executives recently held a community engagement exercise.
They really wanted to show them the retail opportunities. After that, they had a one-on-one meeting session at the Ministry for Grand Bahama in the CoLab unit. The cruise port is on track to open in 2025, the summer of 2025. And so we're really excited about what's happening with that.
Royal Caribbean International also on tap to make major investments into a port as well. The minister had this update.
That's something that Royal Caribbean is dealing directly with the Freeport Harbor Company on. I know that they are still in discussions on that. We're really mostly focused on the Carnival Cruise Port development at this time, and I'm sure that Royal Caribbean will update as soon as they have additional information on that.
Chief Development Officer of the Manchester Airport Group, Paul Willis, telling Our News back in May that a team was expected on the island throughout the summer months to assess the international airport. While the minister could not provide concrete details, she says she is excited for work to begin. Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepherd.
All right, thanks a lot, Megan. We've got a whole lot more to get to tonight, including our Beating the Heat series, which is back tonight. Our Talia Hall, she speaks with a local drink specialist who's telling us about what you can drink to stay cool. Before we get to that, it's time for your first look at temperatures. Meteorologist Greg Thompson, he's in the Weather Center. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Kendino, and a happy Tuesday evening, everybody. We still have some leftover moisture with that surface trough that's now to the west of us. We'll show that in our satellite picture, but we had some showers earlier, and we still have some showers nearby. Partly cloudy skies outside our studios right now. Temperatures 85. Winds are out of the southeast at 9 miles per hour, and factoring the relative humidity, it feels like a very humid 95 degrees on the outside. Temperatures around the islands right now, it's 85 in Freeport, Great Harbor Key, and in the capital, 84 in Alistown, Bimini, and Nicholstown. We pick up 86s in Marsh Harbor, Abaco, and over in Governor's Harbor. In Kemps Bay, it's 86 in Georgetown as well. Pair of 84s in Arthurstown, Cat Island, and in Coburn Town, San Salvador. Down in Deadman's Key, you guys are 85. And into the southeast Bahamas, Duncan Town, Ragged Island, you have some showers. Temperature 86 in Colonel Hill, Cricket Island. 87s in Delectable Bay, Acklands, Abrahams Bay, Meguana, 87, Matthewtown, Inagua, 86, and Turks and Caicos Islands, you round out our temperature profile with a very warm 88 degrees. Satellite and radar composite, that surface trough moves through the capital earlier this morning with some isolated showers and thunderstorms. Most of the activity is now to the west of Andros that will continue to pull towards the west and away from us. But we still have some leftover moisture, so we could see 1 or 2 showers later on tonight to early parts of tomorrow morning. Behind that, we have a high-pressure ridge that's going to be building in across the southeast and central Bahamas, eventually into the northwest Bahamas. So breezy conditions over the next couple of days expected, and some dry conditions as well. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us. Look at your extended forecast is still to come.
A mother and father could now face manslaughter by negligence charges after the death of their 2-year-old son. We'll tell you the circumstances that led to their arrest. But first, an 8-year-old allegedly sexually assaulted by a neighbor. A concerned father reporting the matter to police, now on the hunt for the suspect. Then, another tourist viral video making the rounds on social media. Hear what the Maryland native is claiming about a local taxi driver when Our News returns. Well, police are looking for a man they say raped his neighbor's 8-year-old daughter. The incident allegedly taking place here in New Providence on August 14th. The father reporting the alleged incident to the South Central Police Station, prompting an investigation. This incident comes just weeks after a male motorist lured a 9-year-old girl who was playing outside her home into his car. The victim was taken to an unknown location, and police say she was sexually assaulted. They are still searching for the suspect. Well, a viral video making the rounds on social media of a tourist from Maryland who claims she and her party of 18 were reportedly cheated, or allegedly cheated, that is, by a local taxi driver after she paid a large sum of money to go sightseeing, only to be left stranded. Here's the tourist describing what happened.
We paid $30 a person for 18 people to drive us around for the day. He said he would take us anywhere we wanted to go for the day. We went to the Queen's Staircase, and then he drove us to Junkanoo Beach, where he said he would be back at 3 o'clock to pick us up, and never came back to get us.
That was Megan Surface, who says the entire ordeal was an inconvenience and almost resulted in her and her group being left by their ship.
He said we could leave our belongings in his vehicle, and my daughter left her bag with her necklace and her bracelet that we had just bought from the market by this Queen's Staircase, and her C card to get back on the ship, and then he never came back to get us.
Well, in a statement on her Twitter page, Housing and Transport Minister JoBeth Colby Davis, sharing the ministry along with road traffic, is aware of the incident and says the matter is being investigated by police. She says an update will be provided once that investigation is complete. When our news comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as a fourth indictment for former U.S. President Donald Trump. This one connected to election fraud in Georgia. Plus, at least 10 killed in an explosion in the Dominican Republic. And 2 separate fires in Guyana claims the lives of 4 people, including 2 children, one of them celebrating her 12th birthday. The story when Our News returns. This is Our News. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. Former U.S. President Donald Trump faces more legal woes as he was criminally charged in Georgia over his alleged effort to overturn the 2020 presidential election results. Almond Lee has more.
The indictment brings felony charges against Donald John Trump.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump has until noon next Friday to surrender to authorities in Atlanta, Georgia. He was hit with criminal charges for a fourth time on Monday, when a Georgia grand jury issued a criminal indictment accusing him of attempting to illegally overturn his 2020 election loss to Democrat Joe Biden. The indictment listed Trump and 18 others as defendants, including associates Rudy Giuliani and John Eastman, along with a total of 41 criminal counts. It was all part of a sweeping case brought by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis.
Every individual charged in the indictment is charged with one count of violating Georgia's Racketeer, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations Act through participation in a criminal enterprise in Fulton County, Georgia, and elsewhere to accomplish the illegal goal of allowing Donald J. Trump to seize the presidential term of office beginning on January 20th, 21.
Racketeering is used to target members of organized crime groups and carries a penalty of up to 20 years in prison. Lawyers for those named either declined to comment or did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Trump has previously denied any wrongdoing and accused Willis of being politically motivated, criticisms she rejected on Monday.
I make decisions in this office based on the facts and the law. The law is completely nonpartisan. That's how decisions are made in every case. We followed the same process. We look at the facts, we look at the law, and we bring charges.
Arrest warrants have been issued for those indicted by the grand jury. Willis said she is giving them an opportunity to voluntarily surrender by noon on August 25th. The case stems from a phone call in January 2021 in which Trump urged Georgia's top election official to find enough votes to reverse his narrow loss in the state. The official declined to do so.
Well, an ancient Christian mosaic bearing an early reference to Jesus as God is at the center of a controversy that has riled archaeologists. This as Israeli officials are considering uprooting the centuries-old decorated floor to be put on loan at a U.S. museum. The Megiddo mosaic is from what is believed to be the world's earliest Christian prayer hall that was located in a Roman-era village in northern Israel. It was discovered by Israeli archaeologists in 2005 during a salvage excavation conducted as part of the planned expansion of an Israeli prison. And now to the region where at least 10 people died on Monday and dozens more injured after an explosion near the Dominican Republic capital. Authorities say the victims included a 4-month-old baby and 2 adults, both who had suffered burns on 90% of their bodies. Now, the National Health Services said in a statement that 33 people were also injured in the explosion at a business in San Cristobal, west of the country's capital, Santo Domingo.
There were 3 people lying dead there, covered with a box. A fire started in Padre Ayala Street in San Cristobal. It spread toward other places. Firefighters have been working on suffocating the fire. We hope to have reports on the causes of the fire in the coming hours.
And 2 children, one of them celebrating her birthday, were among 4 people killed in separate house fires in Guyana. Guyana Fire Services reporting that the fire broke out at a 2-story home in Silverton, Linden at around 11:45 last night. Officers say when they arrived, they found the house engulfed in flames and smoke. Authorities say the 12-year-old birthday girl, identified as Kayla, and her aunt Cheryl Moore both died in the fire, which they say was reportedly set by a male relative who was handed over to police. Then around 5:20 this morning, GFS officers responding to a blaze at Good Hope Esquibo. That fire claiming the lives of Sasha La Cruz and her 7-year-old son, Aisha Wilson. Investigations are continuing. And finally, a baggage handlers strike in Argentina over union issues, leaving more than 10,000 passengers stranded and caused the cancellation of at least 60 flights in several airports there this morning. After 20 hours of protests, which began on Monday, Workers of the state-owned company Intercargo lifted the strike at midday after a new meeting was scheduled with labor officials. Still to come in our news, today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was August 15th. Then in our news at 7:30, the parents of a 2-year-old boy arrested. The two could now face manslaughter by negligence charges following a car ride that ended in his death. Plus, the PLP chairman says the F&M making mischief out of the prorogation. When our news returns. Welcome back to our news. It's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was August 15th. Take a look. On this day in Bahamian history in 1928, Paul Lawrence Adderley was born in Nassau. He was a prominent Bahamian politician and lawyer serving in frontline politics from the early 1960s to the early 1990s. He was called to the English Bar and the Bahamas Bar in 1953 and was first elected to the House of Assembly in 1962, representing the Western District of New Providence as a member of the PLP. In 1965, he left the party and formed his own political party, the National Democratic Party, NDP. In the 1967 general election, he failed to win a seat and returned to the PLP in 1972 and was appointed Minister of External Affairs on March 1, 1973, and Attorney General on July 10 that year. He is the country's first and longest-serving Attorney General, serving from 1973 to 1989. Adderley also served as Acting Governor General from December 1, 2005 to January 31, 2006. On September 19, 2012, Adderley died at the age of 84. Then fast forward August 15, 2014, Harold Munnings Sr. died in Nassau. He was 90 years old. Munnings was a prominent engineer, civil servant, and administrator. He made significant contributions to the nation, especially in the public service and athletics. Munnings served as the chef de mission of the Bahamas team at the Rome Olympics in 1960. In 2013, Munnings, who was the third president of the Bahamas Amateur Athletics Association and a vice president of the Bahamas Olympic Association, was inducted into the Bahamas National Sports Hall of Fame and was described at the time as a Renaissance man. Then 2 years later in 2016, Shawnee Miller won gold in the women's 400-meter final at the Games of the 31st Olympiad in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. She clocked a time of 49.44 seconds. With the bruises and bumps to show, Miller dived across the finish line at the Olympic Stadium, beating American Allison Felix and snatching the Bahamas' first gold medal at the Games. Miller later laughing off social media furor over the dive.
I saw a few of the memes and things that they had on social media, and I just got a good laugh out of it. But the good thing about it is, those that are involved in the sport, they understand it, and it's not like it's the first time that it's happened. It's happened so many times, and we understand that sometimes you just can't control it, and it's a part of the sport. So I don't really let things get to me. So I saw it and I was just like, it's whatever. But I got my gold medal, so I'm happy right now.
Then in 2019, 10 years after 18-year-old Brenton Smith was shot and killed by police, his family reflected on his life, saying time had not healed the wound of his death. Smith was killed on July 9, 2009, while walking with a friend through a shortcut at the rear of the Old City Market food store on Village Road. According to court testimony, the shooting happened shortly after the store was robbed by two men, one of whom police say was armed. Smith was not involved in the robbery. Nearly a year later, a 7-man jury found the officer, Kelsey Monroe, acted in self-defense. And finally, in 2020, National COVID-19 Vaccine Committee Chairman Dr. Mercelin Dalregis announced the country was now experiencing a significant increase in new COVID cases, hospitalizations, and deaths from COVID-19. At the time, the Alpha variant was the predominant strain circulating in the country, months after vaccines were secured. The latest dashboard showed over 117,000 doses had been administered, with over 51,000 people fully vaccinated. Well, it doesn't seem these hot summer temperatures are letting up anytime soon. In fact, July has been recorded as the hottest month on record. Tonight, a drink specialist and business owner, she has a few helpful hints about drinks that can help keep you cool. Talia Hall has more.
This is actually a very refreshing cocktail. It's more on the neutral side. I would say that females will gravitate more towards this drink.
Blissfully Boozy, the name of the business, describes exactly what it is: cool, refreshing drinks, spiked or unspiked. At a mobile bar, the owner behind it all is Rakia Wong. She says she wanted her business to be all about the experience.
While the drinks are really, really amazing, it's still all about the experience. You get the fresh cocktails, you have the bartenders, you have the sound bar, you have homemade simple syrups and garnishes, dehydrated garnishes that we do by ourselves.
And with scorching hot temperatures, some have asked which drinks are the best to keep them cool this summer.
When you go to the beach, you don't always want that hit of alcohol, but you want something that's gonna hit and not just be a juice. That's where our mocktails come in, because they're really a combination of different things.
Now, when some hear mocktails, they may think they are only for expecting moms.
We're fully aware that times have changed and not everyone wants to consume alcohol, or not everyone wants that heavy, strong drink. So we give an extensive mocktails menu, and you have the option to spike those mocktails if you prefer, and if you don't, you just have your mocktail.
She also offers mixology classes for those looking to make the perfect drink. Now, I got the chance to make my own summer drink that was quite refreshing. While the support from the community has been great, she says bringing her idea of a mobile business together was not easy.
As a young small business owner, this, although it's not a heavy startup cost, it required a good bit of sacrificing and a good bit of investing. And so I went into programs for funding. Those were 8-week courses. And for that particular program that I was in, there were 5 winners. So I'm okay, even if I come in 5th place and I get some cash, that can help. But unfortunately, I didn't place at all. So it kind of left me back to square one. But luckily, my husband came on board, and we just made Blissfully Boozy happen.
All right, I am thirsty now, but if you want to watch that story again, and for all of today's top stories, visit ournews.bs. That's going to do it for us in News at 7. Joining us now is Natalia Hall with the latest headlines. Natalia, as I said, I am thirsty now, but you look blissfully boozy yourself, though.
I enjoyed that story. It was so much fun. I don't know if you saw me mixing the drink.
What did you make?
It was called, I don't want to call it the wrong name, but it was delicious.
Okay,
it was
all
delicious.
right. Mixologist in the making.
In the making. All right, thanks so much, Ken.
Sure.
Well, of a 2-year-old boy arrested following a car ride that ended in his death. Plus, the PLP chairman says the F&M is making mischief. Here are your latest headlines.
a negligent act. First tonight on Our News Live at 7:30. A mother and father in police custody tonight following the death of their child. Plus, a bar fight lands a Grand Bahama woman before a judge. Details from inside the courtroom. Also, nearly a week after the House was prorogued, the Foreign Affairs Minister hits back at critics saying it's nothing new, and later demanding answers. The president of the Contractors Association once again questioning the number of Bahamians employed at several major hotel construction sites. His full comments when Our News Live at 7:30 returns.
Doctors Hospital is reimagined primary care. We have invested to improve our health system, ensuring that accessible, affordable, world-class clinical care is closer to you. Your relationship with a primary care provider shapes the foundation of your overall health. Our new, modern primary care facilities are where critical diagnosis and true personalized treatment begin. With locations across New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Exuma, we invite you to experience the Doctors Hospital difference. Book your next appointment at clinics.doctorshos.com.
Introducing the Focal Smart Pass app that helps you to fuel up faster. Here's how it works. Download the app on the App Store or get it on Google Play and create your profile with payment details. Visit your nearest Shell station, open the app, scan the pump's QR code, select your payment amount, and begin fueling. Say goodbye to cash and cards because the Focal Smart Pass offers secure and convenient payment options right at your fingertips. Download Focal Smart Pass now and fuel up faster today.
If new, Heineken Silver was a riveting Viking saga.
Last the 12th, your family tortured my first wife and stole my second favorite goat. Now you want to marry my daughter. Okay.
All the taste, no bitter endings. Smooth, fresh, silver.
Welcome to Our News, and thank you for joining us. I'm Atalia Hall. Well, a 2-year-old is dead, and his 23-year-old father and 20-year-old mother are in police custody. The family was driving on Robinson and Old Trail roads around 10:30 Saturday morning when other motorists alerted them that their son appeared unconscious and his head was hanging out of the car window. The toddler was removed from the window and taken to hospital in a private vehicle where he later died. His parents were arrested on suspicion of manslaughter by negligence. And now to news in Grand Bahama, as 33-year-old Trey Newbold was charged with conspiracy to possess a firearm with intent to endanger life and conspiracy to cause public terror. This is all in connection to an incident that occurred at a local bar on East Sunrise Highway on June 27th. Newbold, who was represented by attorney Paco Deal, pleaded not guilty to the charges as she stood before Magistrate LaQuay Lang in Court Number 3. $8,000 bail was granted with one suretor. She was ordered not to make contact with any witnesses and will be required to sign into the Central Police Station in Grand Bahama once a month. The case was adjourned until September 1st. Parliament is now prorogued, and that's nothing new. The assertion coming from Foreign Affairs Minister and PLP Chairman Fred Mitchell in response to the opposition Free National Movement, who criticized the move by the Davis administration. Mitchell noting that the proroguing of Parliament is not uncommon in the Westminster system and simply signals the ending of one session and the beginning of another.
There's nothing irregular about this. There's no special need to duck anything. None of that. And they're actually making much more out of it than it is. And that's because it's just unusual to see it happen. Most of the post-independence prime ministers just had one session, you open Parliament, and it just kept for the 5 years. We agreed that we would go back to sessions annually if possible. And gives us an opportunity to reset the agenda and to say where we've gone.
Now, the new session of Parliament will begin on October 4th. Mitchell telling reporters that the opposition is simply making mischief. The government intends to repeal, and replace the Commercial Enterprises Act when Parliament reconvenes on October 4th. The Attorney General revealing as much today to reporters ahead of the weekly cabinet meeting.
So we did a full review of that piece of legislation. Coming into election and in our blueprint for change, you would have noted we had some objection to that legislation. And our objection was focused around the automatic grant of work permits and ensuring that Bahamian employment is protected. However, on a full review of the legislation, we thought there were aspects of it that would be useful for economic development.
Now, the Commercial Enterprises Act was introduced by the Minnis administration back in 2017, and the current act seeks to liberalize the granting of work permits to an enterprise that wishes to establish itself in the Bahamas and requires work permits for its management team and key personnel. Pinder asserts the bill will be repealed and replaced with a bill that focuses exclusively on economic development and empowerment zones. The president of the Bahamas Contractors Association is questioning how many Bahamians are employed at the British Colonial Hotel amid allegations foreign nationals were employed at the site. Leonard Sand says from his observation, he hasn't seen any.
I would invite the Minister of Labor to provide the Bahamian Contractors Association with a report on who is employed on the job site, because it cannot be the same 150 or so, whatever the number was, Chinese nationals building the project to 0 Bahamians. No heads of agreement gave that allowance. No area in the heads of agreement did it allow non-Bahamians to fully build out that hotel.
The first time the ratio of local to foreign labor at the point has been brought into question. Sands believes this is another instance of foreigners being placed over Bahamians. Additionally, he says government doesn't understand the large population that relies heavily on the industry for employment.
The only thing I can do is find work in construction, and you export that service by bringing in foreign nationals from China or wherever to do that work, then I'm going to find somewhere to eat. And I've said it every single time as this issue comes up. Young Bahamian men want to work. There is not enough work for them in construction because we keep outsourcing that work. We cannot then complain about the rising crime rate when you find men who want to work, have families, and can't support them.
All right, cooler temperatures in the capital following a few rainy events this afternoon. Wondering what else we can expect for the rest of the work week. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with the first check on weather. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Natalia. Welcome, everybody, for a quick check on conditions outside our studios and around the islands. It is humid on the outside under partly cloudy skies. Your temperature is in the mid-80s, 85 degrees. Winds out of the east-southeast at 9 miles per hour, and your feels-like temperature hanging in at the mid-90s, 95 degrees is what it feels like on the outside. Radar and satellite composite surface trough moving through the northwest and central Bahamas late last night and into early parts of this morning, dropping some showers across our area, thunderstorms as well. Most of the activity is now to the west of Andros, moving into the Florida Straits and the Gulf Stream, but we still have some moisture left around, and that's going to continue to generate a couple isolated showers tonight through tomorrow. That's your first check on weather. Stick with us to look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, the brother of a missing man says he wants his brother back, dead or alive. This as the 47-year-old man has been missing for over a month. Also, the Health and Wellness Minister says please be patient following concerns about renovations at the Princess Margaret Hospital. That's all coming up when our news returns.
The distraught family of a missing Andres man continuing their search tonight, weeks after he disappeared. His brother telling Our News they're now fearing for the worst. Our Joshua Williams, who is following this, joins me now in studio. And Josh, we understand that he was last seen a month ago.
Yes, Italia, the missing man is 47-year-old Samuel LaFleur. Now, I got a chance to speak with his brother Kendrick over the phone in Andres, and obviously a very trying time for him and his family. His brother also sharing with us that he noticed a change in Samuel after he returned home from the United States some years ago.
Well, when he left the Bahamas, he was a normal young man, a great athlete, like I said. And when he came back for a mom's funeral, I discovered that something was not right. He was not being the way he normally would be. But then it was only from time to time. But as time goes on, I get to realize that there's something not right.
This prompting Kendrick to take Samuel to the Sandilands Rehabilitation Center to be evaluated.
Well, he stopped taking care of himself. He normally keeps himself tidy. All of a sudden, he stopped keeping himself tidy, have no care for his skin. And then he would go about picking up things off the street. He would do a lot of begging around the clubs and stuff like that.
It's this mental state that has Kendrick fearing the worst.
And all the inquiries that I've done, I'm at the conclusion now that someone probably injured him, probably not meant to kill him, probably die. Either they bury him or they have him somewhere through the bush. I mean, a lot of families don't want to admit it, but yes, that's the view I'm at now.
Desperate for closure, Kendrick makes this appeal.
Anyone has any information, because definitely someone has to have some type of information. Someone has to have some type of knowledge. A whole human being cannot just disappear off the face of the earth and nobody knows nothing. That's impossible.
Now, Samuel's brother, who you just heard from they're also telling me that he's been spending his time driving around in Andros, just looking for any signs of his brother, and he's, again, appealing for persons to come forth with any information that can be helpful.
And has the family made any headway with police?
Yes, they have been in contact with police, but the police have also been telling them to lead their own search parties to try and find Samuel as they also continue their investigations.
All right, thanks so much for that, Josh. That's our Joshua Williams reporting live in studio tonight. Well, renovations are still ongoing at the accident and emergency section of the Princess Margaret Hospital as officials work to improve the healthcare facility. It's also coming with some challenges. Tonight, the health minister is asking for the public's continued patience. Our Megan Shepard reports.
A large portion of the accident and emergency section at the Princess Margaret Hospital remains under active renovations. Minister for Health and Wellness, Dr. Michael Darville, admitting it's disrupting workflows, forcing doctors and nurses to work in cramped locations.
To compound that, there was a problem with the chiller system, which happens sometimes in the middle of summer. Since then, we have resolved some of those issues. And the renovations of the accident emergency is moving very rapidly, and hopefully we are on schedule for that part of the renovations to be handed over to the Public Hospitals Authority for operation somewhere in October.
Just last week, the general public was asked to only visit the A&E section for true emergencies as a way to lessen the burden. Minister Darville gave this update.
Yesterday, we had the opportunity to tour the accident emergency, and a lot of pressures that were there some weeks before has now been relieved. The accident emergency goes through waves. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's bursting from the seams. We had an incident a couple days ago where the challenges were very great to find individuals who have been admitted beds at the Princess Margaret Hospital. And that has settled down to some extent.
He is asking the public for its continued patience throughout the phased renovations.
By October, that asset will be in our remit and be in our control, which means that we will be able to have better spaces, more leg room, more ability to handle cases. And we are looking forward for that new portion of the accident emergency to come on stream.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepard.
Team Bahamas runs all over Cuba. We hear Coach Yo's thoughts on the team, and the Bahamas Baseball Association drops the hammer. Stay with us. Our Sports is coming up next.
1 or 2 passing showers around the capital on this Tuesday, causing temperatures to cool down a bit. Greg is back with your extended weather when our news returns. Stay with us.
Today's sports update is sponsored by Michelob Ultra, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
This is our news. Welcome back. Team Bahamas runs all over Cuba. We hear Coach Yo's thoughts on the team, and the Bahamas Baseball Association drops the hammer. Here's Tej Adderley with a check on sports. Tej?
Thanks, Italia. Hello, good evening. Welcome to Our Sports. The Bahamas national basketball squad headed to FIBA's pre-Olympic qualifiers as the odds-on favorite to win the whole thing. They showed everyone why in last night's blowout of Cuba. The Bahamas national basketball team ran roughshod over Cuba 109-68 in the opening game of the pre-Olympic qualifying tournament last night. The NBA players led the way for Team 242. Buddy Hield had 24 points, scoring at all levels, adding 6 rebounds and 5 assists. DeAndre Ayton dominated the paint with 22 points and 10 rebounds, and Eric Gordon showed off his deep range with 17 points and 4 assists. Franco Miller added 18 off the bench. Meanwhile, Coach Rolette McPhee-McEwen served as an assistant coach for Team Bahamas last year. Our Sasha Lightburn talked to her about this year's team.
Head coach of Old Mrs. Women's basketball team and Grand Bahama native Yolette McEwen says our current men's national basketball team has the potential to do very well. Coach Yo served as an assistant coach of the team last year, but due to a prior commitment, had to rescind.
I think it was incredible. You know, I coached with them last year, but this year because of Italy, I could not. You know, I rescinded my name, and I'm passionate about the women. But as far as the men's concerned, they have the talent. They hadn't played a lot together, so I think people got to offer them some grace.
The team, currently in Argentina, consists of the likes of Buddy Hield, DeAndre Ayton, and Eric Gordon, and is ranked #1 in the tournament's power rankings.
Ayton joining the group was huge, and then I think Kai couldn't make it. I think he was nursing an injury or something like that, so And then Buddy is just a soldier man. He don't miss. He's always there, always around. So, you know, I think they're in good hands. Chris DeMarco is an A1 guy. I know he's not Bahamian, but he loves the Bahamas, and there are a lot of Bahamians on staff. I think they'll do great.
Now, Team Bahamas will play again on Wednesday against Argentina. Reporting for our sports, I'm Sasha Lightbourne.
Thank you, Sasha. Before we go, the Bahamas Baseball Association announced a big suspension for Greg Burrows Sr. and Greg Burrows Jr. The Bahamas Baseball Federation has announced the suspension of Greg Burrows Jr. and Greg Burrows Sr. because of an altercation at last month's Babe Ruth Regional Tournament. Burrows Jr., the manager of the Bahamas under-16 squad, was given a hefty 15-year suspension for berating and then initiating a physical altercation with an umpire after he was ejected for his initial outburst. Burrows Sr., the Caribbean commissioner for Babe Ruth Baseball, was given a 5-year suspension for the role he played in the incident. Both father and son have remained tight-lipped about the altercation and the suspension, but Babe Ruth Baseball has issued a statement of support for Burrows Sr. The league also added that he will remain commissioner of the Caribbean for the foreseeable future. One more thing, Jonquel Jones and the Liberty played the Las Vegas Aces tonight in the Commissioner's Cup match. You don't want to miss that. That'll do it for sports today. I'm Tage Adderley.
A shift in conditions as temperatures are cooling down this evening following some light showers earlier today. Greg is back in the Weather Center with your extended forecast when our news continues.
Welcome back to our news. Feeling a little cooler this evening. Well, temperatures dipped a little as we had some rain showers. Greg is back in the Weather Center with your extended forecast. Greg?
Yeah, thanks again, Natalia, and welcome back, everybody, for our final check of weather. We're taking a look at the water vapor imagery that's showing us the moisture in the mid to upper levels. All the moisture that was associated with that surface trough moving across the Bahamas last night and into the western portions of our area. Now west of Andros, showers and isolated thunderstorms still hanging around. We still have some moisture left behind the surface trough. But if you notice to the east of that, big upper level low and a smaller disturbance moving towards the area, some drier air mass associated with that should be moving across the area. So we're looking at some drier conditions over the next couple of days. And at the surface, a ridge of high pressure will be building across the area. That's going to continue to provide some breezy conditions for the central and southeast Bahamas and possibly even an isolated passing shower. Satellite imagery, the infrared showing the isolated showers and thunderstorms associated with that surface trough, as I mentioned, moving west of the area. A dry air mass, and there's also some Saharan dust that's going to be coming in by the end of the week, and that should provide us with some drier conditions up until that time. The tropics, we are watching two areas. An area in the central Atlantic that the National Hurricane Center is giving a low to medium chance for formation, and there's a big, actually a tropical wave, active one, moving off the African coast. That also being giving a low to medium chance for formation. We will continue to watch these areas as this is the time we start to look towards the African coast for any systems coming off there. Future forecast showing the moisture associated with that trough moving out of our area. It's an isolated shower or two into Wednesday, and then on Thursday, dry conditions as well expected, so no real significant weather over the next several days. Plan on doing any beaching or boating in the northwest Bahamas tonight through tomorrow. Your winds will be out of the southeast to south, 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 4 feet. Over the ocean, your high tide will be at 7:43 tonight. For the central and southeast Bahamas, small craft caution in effect, east to southeast winds 15 to 20 knots, seas running 4 to 6 feet over open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your extended forecast, some residual showers hanging out towards Wednesday, then we dry out on Thursday and possibly even into Friday, but by the weekend we expect another disturbance to be moving in, so we're looking for some showers by that time, and then early next week, dry conditions expected. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe evening, everybody.
All right, thanks so much for that, Greg, and thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.